Yes, people, it's LokiMan07 back with another YouTube video. It has been a while, okay? It has been a very long while. I would like to thank anybody who has been commenting or liking my videos and subscribing. Thank you, all the new subscribers. Um, Much appreciated. With that said, with that said, I'm going to get into what I'm going to talk about in this video, which is Final Fantasy X. Okay, one of the greatest video game stories ever written, probably one of the greatest stories ever written. Low key, it's not an original story, but the way the characters are executed, the archetypes, and the imagery that accompanies the ideas behind this tale is done to perfection in this game, especially within the technology that they had. Um, this might not be the best Final Fantasy game ever, but it is the greatest Final Fantasy story in my opinion. I'm going to have a very intellectual look at this game, and we're going to talk about the occult themes, the mythological inspirations, and the psychology behind what is going on. And of course, we're going to talk about the imagery that you are seeing. This game is a story about the hero of light, like most Final Fantasy games are. This game is no different. This is about the hero of light, okay? And everything about the game, the names and everything, the way I'm speaking will be explained as we go along. So this is my study of Final Fantasy X. You will not see a study like this, okay? Now, before we get into things, let's take a look at what we're going to look at in this study. Let's go. So people, let me explain what we're going to be looking at in this study. First of all, we're going to have an introduction. We've had it, we're having it. Second thing, we're going to look at Titus, okay, and the archetype of the sun god. Okay, Titus represents the sun god in this game, and we're going to look at how his storyline, his relationships match up with the sun god Horus, also known as Heru. And we're going to get all into that, the water symbology behind him, everything, okay? And we're going to go through the game as we're doing this, and we're going through these subjects. The third thing we're going to look at is the concept of the faith and the far plane, or the underworld. Where did Square Enix get this imagery from? These ideas from? I'm going to show you all that stuff, okay? Nothing in this game is original, by the way. The fourth thing we're going to look at is the concept of the goddess and the great dragon, or the monster. This is the concept of Yuna and Sin, right? We're going to get all into that, who Yuna is, who she represents in contrast to the sun god, okay? The fifth thing we're going to look at is the recurring theme of the number 7 when it comes to these types of games, okay? The 7 party members. I'm going to explain those archetypes. If you have watched my occult study of Persona 5, you will see these exact same archetypes, right? In the 6th position, we're going to be talking about order out of chaos, okay? Which is the concept of this game. It's the whole life and death Spira aspect. We're going to talk about all of that, the verbiage behind Spira and how Spira works. The 7th thing we're going to look at in the final position, we're going to look at the new world which was created in this game. In this game, you're going to create a new world, and you get a glimpse of that new world, or you get to run around in that new world, that new ideal, in the second game. The reason why the second game is a stark contrast to the first game is because they are two separate principles. In the first game, you bring about the principles that allow the second game to look and act like this. Okay? I'm going to get all into that. Okay? Alright? So I hope you enjoy, people. Let's get into Final Fantasy X, an occult study. Okay, so first of all, people, we need to talk about this character, Titus. Titus, before we get into breaking down the introduction that happens in this game where Titus manifests into the real world, I have to explain who Titus is. Of course, Titus's story is influenced heavily by the god Heru / Horus, okay? And the parallels are incredible. As we go through this video, you will see what I mean. Like, it's incredible. Alright, so first of all, let me explain to you what's going on here, right? What the game tells us, okay? So, first of all, Titus, as I said, represents the divine child of light, the sun. Okay? So that's S-O-N or S-U-N. Doesn't matter. He's the divine child of light, the sun. Right? And his name itself, Titus, T-I-D-U-S, literally translates to sun in Japanese. Okay, it's of Japanese origin, spoken in Okinawa dialect. Okay, so that's how you would say sun. Okay, so that alone is just letting you know that that this parallel exists. Okay, so let me explain to you something that's not described in the game, but it is happening. It's being, the images are given to you. So first of all, Titus is a demigod. Okay, right? Straight up, he's not a human being. He's not from the past either. Titus is not from the past. The game tells you where Titus is from. Titus is from a dream, right? Like I said, he's not human. He's spirit in the avatar of man. That's what Titus is. Okay, he's an ideal. Okay, and a principle, and that principle is the savior. Okay, so when the game starts and you see Titus in Zanakin, right, it's just a dream. Zanakin is perfect at this moment where you're seeing what is on the screen. Zanakin lies in ruins in this moment. This is not the past. Okay, this is the faith's dream right now, and you're going to see Zanakin be destroyed in this dream. This has happened many times, right, in the dream world, because just like a dream, nothing that you're witnessing in this scene, this intro, is actually real. None of it is stable and has time and continuity. Okay, so sometimes the faith be having dreams of things that's in their memories. Zanakin is in their memories. These people are just from Zanakin. All they know is Zanakin. Zanakin is their world, and they'll dream up the place. They'll dream up characters, etc., etc. And then you'll have the faith having nightmares. The faith has nightmares all the time, right? And this mood switching, this cycling of this collective dream of the faith, right? This ritual, right? It's in autopilot. When the nightmares happen, sin is attacking. So the faith is seeing images of the memory of Zanakin being destroyed, and thus sin is manifesting destruction. Okay, and we're gonna break that down. Wait until I get into what sin is. Jesus. So as you can see, in this dream world, Zanakin, Titus is a superstar. If you look at the Horus as a concept, look into his storylines, you will find that he's actually good at sports and actually challenges set to sports and things like that. So this is where you get the principle of writing that Titus is a blitzball player, he's a superstar, right? He's a good sportsman, all right. And that principle is in the game, of course. So when this game starts, you see this aspect of Titus, and of course he's in water. He represents the divine child. If you watched my occult study, I spoke about the divine child being linked to the number 4, and then I went in and described the whole number 4 and how it's linked to water. So this is what you're seeing now. So anyway, as the dream is occurring and Titus is playing his game, the world is starting to warp, and it's starting to warp as Auron is coming through, because Auron represents thought. Okay, Auron would be the equivalent of Thoth, Tahuti, Mercury, etc., Hermes, right? He's this principle so much, it's in his design, because of course those characters are all Odin, and as you can see, Auron has an eye missing, right? Odin lost his eye to acquire knowledge, and that is also in the game. We're going to get into that later though. So anyway, you see Titus witnessing the fall of Zanarkand, okay? And now everything's in chaos, right? Check this out.
We called it sin.
Sin?
So people, what is sin? Sin is literally the concept of hell itself as an entity, all right? Literally. So these souls in Zanarkand, these dreams, these spirits, right? Like I said, Titus is spirit or thought manifest, and spirit and thought is within sin, because all this Zanarkand is sin, okay? And these souls within sin are experiencing literal hell, the same thing over and over again, which is Zanarkand being destroyed and them going through the terror and the torment. Then it's back to normal. Zanarkand's all and then they're getting terrorized again and again and again. This is the concept of hell, this hell cycle, which sin is. Okay, but Titus, it is about to leave the underworld, the world of concepts, right? And is about to go up through the primordial waters into the physical realm and manifest as a physical being. And he needs to be born. And this scene, what you're looking at on the screen, this is where Titus literally is born. The imagery is sin above manipulating the primordial waters. The light represents the realm of light, which is the physical world. So he's going up from the dark. I mean, he's going down, he's going up from the lower level, the dark, into the light, and the light is the physical world with continuity and time. And you can see it's in his eyes. And so once he goes up into the light, so like I said, this represents a birth. He's going to go up through the birth canal, and that birth canal has got all sorts of imagery and what have you in it. He's going to see his father, and when he gets close, his father is going to see that his father is a mirror reflection of himself, okay? Because he is the boy child, the divine son. We're going to get into this as we go through. So Titus manifests at this point. He manifests, of course, in physical waters because he's rising up out of the waters of earth, and thus his birth from the waters. Just like how science will tell us that we came from the sea and evolved from fishes coming onto land, all of that stuff is actually mythology as well. See, everything that I'm going to describe about sin and about all this stuff are references to how things physically work. These are why these stories captivate our emotions so much, and this game is an emotion captivator. So anyway, Titus rises out of the water and he's looking at, basically it's the continuity of what he's just seen. He's not actually in Zanakin, he's in Baj, but Baj has been destroyed by sin many years ago, and he wakes up in destruction and out of water. There's continuity between these two things. Before I get into continuing, I'm putting a cap on this. Titus is the sun god. I'm going to now that I've explained everything that we just saw, I'm going to tell you how it works spiritually, right, and how it works within the zodiacal system. You see, any game where you play as the sun or the hero of light, I'll give you two examples. I'll give you two games that are completely different. Metal Gear Solid, where you play a Solid Snake, who is the hero of light or the savior, and Dragon Quest. Okay, more people will probably have played Metal Gear Solid than Dragon Quest, but just like the Titus story and just like Dragon Quest story, Solid Snake emerges out of water in the beginning of the game, Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2, because he represents that principle. In Dragon Quest, you are cast down a river and rescued. So the first time you see the hero in that game, he's emerging out of the primordial waters as well. So this theme of the game starting, think about how many games you started that have these principles that I'm about to explain, where the hero starts in water and emerges out of water, and then the main story starts. It's a very common theme. I thought I'd just put this in there. All right, let me just continue. So anyway, the reason for this starting in water, because if you start the year with January, right, you're going to start off with the constellation of Aquarius. So you're going to see Aquarius pouring the picture of, I mean, you're going to have this symbol of a river, because that's what Aquarius represents. That picture of water is being poured into the Nile, right? So it represents a river or a sea, a great sea, right? And then, so in these stories, right, even in religious stories as well, you're going to get this same story that comes from Egypt, and is a story of the divine child being chased by the great monster, the great villain. So just like in Dragon Quest and all those games, that water, going down the water, represents the villain. Winter, because Aquarius comes straight after Capricorn, which is the great dragon. Okay, follow me here, because this is going to be getting a little bit complicated, but it's all going to make sense. So if you start off with Aquarius, the next thing you go into is the divine mother and child Pisces constellation. Now this constellation is the two fishes, and what it represents is the big fish is the mother, and the second fish, the smaller fish, is the divine child. And the reason why they are fishes is because now that the picture of water has been poured, these two entities are running from winter, okay, to they're running from the evil of winter, right? And they're using the waters as an escape method or as a route, so that it can bring about summer. This divine child is going to become the new alpha male, Aries. The reason why I'm telling you this principle is because that's what you're actually watching in this game.
Hungry. Whoa! Right on.
Hey! It's because you eat too fast.
So I just showed you that scene of Titus having his first ever real physical meal. Okay, Titus has never eaten food before, by the way, because he's from a dream. He's very, very baby-like. The genius at Square, right, at this point was unbelievable. These principles exist in modern Square games, but they're never delivered like this. They're never accurate like this. It's like they don't have the time, they don't have the resources. It's got all the graphics in the world, but it's never intricate like this. That's what's missing from Final Fantasy. Okay, I just thought I'd put that in there, but let's continue. Now, the reason Titus spawned by Riku out of all the party members is because Riku is the only member of the party besides Auron at this point, and he's not going to spawn by Auron. The only reason why he's spawned by Riku is because Riku is the only character at this moment that is in sync with what Tidus' energy is going to be, which is chaos. All of the other characters are in order, they're under Yu Yevon's spell, so he spawns by the savior, because Riku is also a savior, right? She brings about the principles of this game and the principles of the second game. Okay, that's why she appears in both the games as a playable character. She is the key in this game. Okay, but let's talk about the genius of Square Enix one more time. That absolute genius. I spoke all of this stuff about the constellations. So you pass through the first constellation, which is the scene of Anakin that represents Aquarius, right? You have Auron with the pitcher of water and everything as the symbol. The second symbol you see that is Zodiacal is, of course, these two characters swimming around in water. The genius is unbelievable because it's all metaphorical imagery in the game. And not only is it metaphorical imagery, the story that is playing out that you're watching in this game is matching up with the principles of the imagery. Okay, I hope that makes sense, because this isn't wild speculation. This is actually what is actually happening in this game. Okay, so people, I hope you can tell from, because people that watch these videos tend to be intelligent, otherwise you would have clicked off already. So I hope you can tell that these first two stages of the Zodiac, right, prior to Aries, represent your actual creation. So you was in the seminal fluid, you get shot through the canals of the female. That's Aquarius, that's the male pouring the pitcher of water. Now what happens, the fish needs divine guidance to survive. The sperm's survival rate is low, so it has to run straight to the arms of the divine mother, which is the egg. That's where those principles come from, by the way. It's you, the sun, is the story of the sun, and the zodiac pattern is the same story as you existing, just like the tarot cards is the story of you existing. Okay, so hope you clock that stuff. All right. Right. So let's look into the similarities between Heru, or Horus the sun god, and the character Tidus from this game. All right. The similarities are amazing. They are both the sun, both S-U-N and S-O-N. They are both the divine sun saviors archetype. Okay. Horus means sun, and so does Tidus. Okay. They are both primordial. Okay. Right. They are not human. They are principle manifest, which means they were immaculately conceived. They are virgin births, and let me explain. Titus was not actually created by two flesh and blood beings mating. He simply existed. So what happened? When Jecht spawned in Spira 10 years ago, all of Jecht's memories, right, were just a dream. But those concepts affected the dream world. Thus, Auron was able to visit those concepts because the far plane, or the underworld, is linked to memories, as the game explains. Alright? Alright. I will get into those concepts more when I discuss the far plane section next. Right? Another thing they have in common is that their fathers were previous heroes, or the previous sun god archetype, that were tricked into self-sacrifice by the villain. Right? They have that same principle in common. Right? Those villains being Yu Yevon and his mythological equivalent, which would be Set. Right? And I will go over Yu Yevon more in the sin portion of the video, but these two characters are also concurrent because they are the catalysts, right, that bring about order. All right, they represent extreme order, right? And order is a gift and a curse. It gives you security, but at the same time it limits you. It takes away your freedom. Right, so that's the gift and the curse. Just like chaos has a gift and a curse, it gives you freedom, but it gives you anarchy, discord, you know, the chaos. Right, you get me? It's double. Both sides are a double-edged sword. All right.
Hello there. What is your name?
Riku?
Whoa! You really do understand.
Riku, people, means earth. That's what Riku represents in this game. She represents land, earth, the mother goddess, as I'm hinting at. She represents the same principle as Futaba in the game Persona 5. That's why she's also motherless. Okay, it's the same archetypes. Alright. This portion of the game is where Titus begins to explain his origin, which is a dream, so obviously it makes no sense. Let's listen.
Where are you from?
Xanarkand. I'm a blitzball player. Star player of the Xanarkand Abes.
Did you hit your head or something?
You guys hit me?
Oh, right. Do you remember anything before that?
So I told her everything there was to tell about Xanarkand. About life there, Blitzball, and Sin's attack. And about how Aaron and I were engulfed in this light. I just said things as they came to mind. But then I started to wonder. Did I say something funny?
You were near Sin.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, you'll be better in no time. They say your head gets funny when Sin is near. Maybe you just had some kind of dream?
You mean I'm sick?
Because of Sin's toxin, yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, there is no Xanarkand anymore. Sin destroyed it 1,000 years ago. So no one plays blitzball there.
Okay, so that's the harsh reality of what's actually going on in reality in this game. Because there is no Xanarkand. Xanarkand was destroyed 1,000 years ago. And Titus, his life cannot realistically exist. Okay? Because as the game explains, he's from a dream. However, let's go back into this genius of the developers when it comes to using concepts like this, and how they use language also, because in RPGs all of the areas you go to have names. Okay, all of the areas you go to have names, and what tends to happen is most of those names tend to be a play on words. So for example, in Final Fantasy 7, you are in Midgar. That's where you start, which is a play on the word Midgard. And Midgard is of course the Norse word for the earth realm, the realm of earth. Now Midgard of course can be translated into English, which borrows a lot of language. So mid is obviously where we get middle, and guard or gar is garden, the middle garden. Earth is the middle garden, wedged in between the heavenly realm and the hell realm. Okay, so middle garden. So and then you see in Final Fantasy 7 the story of Midgar reflects the story of planet Earth, corporations, greed, using resources. Okay, so of course in JRPGs especially, names of places are always allegorical and can sometimes be a key to what you're going to witness in that particular area. Here's a good spot for me to highlight something in Final Fantasy X, which is, to me, is just genius. Like, the story writing is just so good. Check this out, right? So Riku, her first suggestion to Titus is that he goes to a place called Luca, right? Luca means bringer of light. Let's look up the definition of Luca 1 second, right? Luca is derived from the Latin name Lucus, meaning bringer of light. Some people also believe the name may be derived from the Latin word lucus, which means sacred wood. Okay, so let me tell you something, right? Both this thing about bringer of light and sacred wood, they are connected esoterically. Okay, so basically wood, sacred wood, is secret woad or ode, because the word wood comes from the word Odin. This is how Woden's Day or Wooden's Day becomes Wednesday, the day of Odin. Okay, so wood and Odin is connected, right? And it's also linked to the bringer of light. Odin is the bringer of light and knowledge. Okay, now I'm gonna drop this quick edit. Check this out.
This is it. This is your story. It all begins here.
So I told her everything there was to tell about Xanarkand. About life there, Blitzball, and Sin's attack. And about how Aaron and I were engulfed in this light.
You said... you play Blitzball?
Uh-huh.
You know, you should go to Luca. Someone might know who you are, or you might find someone you recognize.
Sir Aaron!
Like I said, people, Square Enix at this point was not playing, okay? No games, nothing. They were on smoke time, All right, that's all I can say. Like the things they would add in their games at this point was unbelievable. Like I said, they still have these concepts in their games, but it's never delivered well. The character development is never to this level. You see a bit of it in Final Fantasy X. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake, sorry, but you know, it's like it has to take them 3 games to achieve this. But this game has everything in as the complete package. Okay, amazing amounts of detail. Okay, amazing amounts of detail. It's one of those, the more you know, just like Persona, it's one of those, the more you know, the more you understand. And I'm going to get into the characters, their names, like Auron and Riku being Earth, all that stuff when I get into the party members. But before I can get into most of the concepts, I have to explain the rules that are going on here, which I've been doing in this. So let's get into the far plane. Okay, so people, as you can see by the imagery, just like how I've spoken about in my other occult videos, basically, that the underworld in this game, or the far plane, is represented as a great sea. Obviously, this is a common theme in video games, movies, etc., literature in general. It's you know, when you go into the underworld, you go down into the sea. Okay, and this is linked to the sun going down into, appearing to go down into water to our naked eyes when the sun dies. Okay, this is all this stuff comes from worship of the things around us. Okay, personified. Okay, so Titus obviously comes from the underworld because he's the rising sun, right? And we're going to get into this into the lore of spirit a bit here as we progress through the game. Check this stuff out.
Whoa!
So Titus rises out of the water, okay? And this kind of represents the constellation Aries, but I'll get into that later. There's too many seeds, but they will be sown. Okay, but you get to a place called Besaid, and like I said, all of these places, their names are allegorical. So you start off in sin. That doesn't need much explaining. It's sin, and Titus was born in sin. Okay, and then you get these waters that happen, and then Titus rises and he's in Baj temple, and Baj means to tribute because the hero is born. It's a tribute. Then he goes from Baj and rises in the first civilization in spirit that he comes into contact with. Okay? Now, when it comes to this place here, Besaid, it has a dark history, okay, what it was supposed to be. Right, but the word Besaid means, obviously, it's just a play on words. It's be said, because you're going to get the word here. You're going to get how the religion of Yu Yevon actually works, and just like Jesus, Titus is here to shake things up, to turn things around, alright, to put everyone on a new path, and he's going to shake up the church. He represents chaos, okay, right? So of course, let's look at how the word is given to Titus and how he responds.
I felt like I could trust this Waka, so I just had to ask. It's true Xanarkin was destroyed, right? 1,000 years ago? So it's just a big pile of rubble now, isn't it?
Long time ago, there were a whole lot of cities in Spira. Big cities with machina, machines to run them. People played all day and let the machina do the work. And then, well, take a look. Sin came and destroyed the machina cities. And Zanarkand along with them. Yeah, that was about 1,000 years ago. Just like you said. If you ask me, sin's our punishment for letting things get out of hand. What gets me, though, is we gotta suffer because of what some goofballs did way back when. Of course, we must always repent for our sins. That's important. It's just that it's hard to keep at it sometimes, you know?
It was just as Riku said. Waka and Riku couldn't both be lying. Why would they? It was then, standing in that place, I began to realize how different this world was from my own.
10 years have passed since Lord Braska became High Summoner. And finally, we receive a statue for our temple.
Well, what's a high summoner?
So as you can see, Titus springs into extreme order. He has no idea anything about how this stuff works. Titus has come from the chaos world, from hell, okay? But this is Yu Yevon's world, okay? Yu Yevon's vision manifest into reality. So the guy that was Yu Yevon in the past, due to his great ritual, has brought about his vision for mankind in reality. Obviously, Titus doesn't know this. Titus is, just experiencing culture shock here. He goes to sleep, and he has the first dream you see in the game. Right, this Final Fantasy X game shows dreams a lot because they are linked to the far plane or the underworld. And as you can see, Titus is back home reliving a memory. This is how Titus's life was before: a sequence of dreams, a sequence of memories, not real much continuity. He can be old, he could be young. This blurring of images they use, showing you the dream sequence, how humans contact the underworld. Also, because sin is just an as above, so below principle, all people are like a mini sin, creating worlds within their heads, okay? And that's what dreams are. You're creating a little mini world to the best of your ability, a chaos world in your head. This dream is showing him a physical representation of his jealousy, of the love between his mom and his father, because he represents Horus. And of course, because he represents that principle, his mom is his wife, or the principle of his mom becomes the principle of his wife, okay? So anyway, once again, I just have to say, this the way allegory is used in this game is amazingly done. All right, the writing is spot on. So let's get into this. Titus goes into the church. He obviously represents chaos, and so chaos ensues when he arrives.
If the prayer is heard, the apprentice becomes a fully fledged summoner. Remember?
So someone is in there somewhere and they haven't come back out. Right, I got it.
A day's already gone by.
Is it particularly dangerous in there?
Sometimes, yes.
Why don't you go in and help?
There's already guardians in there. Besides, it's forbidden.
Hey, but what if something happens? What if the summoner dies?
The precepts must be obeyed.
Like I care.
So you can see Titus there, not only showing that he's an anarchist, but also showing that he is a hero first, okay? He's the Superman, get me, the dream boy, You get me? And this dream man is about to shake things up, of course, but he meets the rest of this colourful cast, and of course his other half, the one that is reflecting upon it, which of course is Lady Yuna. The Lady Yuna obviously captures the eye of Titus straight away, instantly becomes an issue, clearly fancies her, finds her attractive. Alright, so, and if you've played this game, you know how the story goes, becomes the love of her life. Alright, but they can never be together, you see. They can never ever be together, and they can never be together. They will dance around each other and swirl around, but they'll never be together, because one is the sun and one is the moon. And Yuna is the moon. But I've showed you a bunch of sequences, and this is about the far plane, right? So I want to explain a few concepts that are in Besaid that I need to explain. First of all, you meet Lady Yuna, who is the sacrificial virgin character. Okay, Lady Yuna, of course, is going to play the consort to the sun, Hathor. So I'm just going to break something down, okay, real quick. I showed you this dream, and Titus being jealous of the love between his mom and his father. The one thing that Titus, Jecht, and Oren have in common is that they all know Lady Yuna personally. Okay, but Jecht and Titus in particular spawn by her. Right, it's their destiny to be around her. The previous son and this son, because they're the, dancing around the moon, of course. But check this out. The thing that attracts Titus to Lady Yuna is her caring and motherly nature. See, Lady Yuna is the moon, so she represents two things. She represents motherliness, feminine energy, but of course feminine chaos, both at the same time. So in this game, she's in her feminine motherly aspect. This is represented by her two eyes, two different colors, and this is because the moon has two major full forms, a silver form and a dark form. So it's all in her design and everything, this dual aspect. But you see this motherly thing that I'm pointing out, that is what is so attractive to Titus, because this concept of the mother is reborn within the Lady Yuna.
Thank you.
Who cares whether he comes back or not?
But he might die.
Fine, let him.
Do you hate him so? But if he dies, you'll never be able to tell him how much you hate him.
So the first dream sequence happens. This is before he meets the Lady Yuna. Prediction and dreams, etc. is used in this game. So upon that first dream that I just showed, moments later he will meet the Lady Yuna. Then he meets the Lady Yuna. Okay, now here's the interesting thing about this love for his mother and the Lady Yuna, and his attraction to her. Metaphor is used also sexually. So the day he meets Lady Yuna is the day he has a dream about her, and it's hinted at in the dream that it's about his sexual eye. Riku is also in this dream. I'm going to play the dream, but you're going to spot that his father is in the dream, and that he has an innate fear of his dad being able to get the girls and making him look like a beta male, right? This is all linked. It is not random. Let's check this out.
Where's that boat?
Everyone will find us if it doesn't come soon.
You really sure this is okay?
Would you take me to Xanarkand?
Hey! You said you'd go with me!
Oh, hey,
I thought Waka told you not to get any ideas.
He did?
Yeah, so you're coming with me.
Hey, stop dreaming! You with a woman? You can't even catch a ball! Oh, what's the matter? Gonna cry again? Cry, cry. That's the only thing you're good for.
I hate you.
Huh? What'd you say?
You have to speak loudly.
I hate you!
Huh?
That's the spirit.
You can do it!
Now, the reason why I'm showing you these dream sequences, to show how, of course, dreams actually work. The emotions within a person, or the thought processes, manifest as imagery in the dreamscape. Okay, so his feelings is being projected into his underworld. And this underworld that he's projecting into is the same place as the far plane. So personally, everybody that he saw in those dreams weren't there. His mother is dead. His father is not here. You know, Riku and Yuna aren't doing that. So this is the same as the far plane, in the sense that he can get an image to project into the underworld. Now, the far plane is a place where if you go to it, right, you can project the images of the dead based upon your memories. Now, this is the same as you know, when you see people have shrines to their ancestors or shrines to the dead, because to keep their memory alive and to keep them functioning in the underworld, so they don't disappear or become part of the void totally. This is the rule that Final Fantasy uses the whole game. It is the reason why people can come back from the dead, right? Because if you can be seen, right, and remembered, right, imagine if you're famous, okay? Imagine if you're famous, right? That means anybody that has the memory of you can see you in death in the far plane, all right? All of the people that can come back from the dead in this game, no normal person comes back from the dead. They are all extremely famous, including Auron himself. Fame, I want to live forever, basically. Also, that principle, because of course the music industry is a cult, you will hear this stuff in music. Anyway, I'll talk about prediction. The guys are going to go on to their quest now, but Titus just saw a projection of his father in the underworld, okay? And I said that his dreams are predictive, so of course